Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jerry Cerone.
G'day, mate. Now, when most people think of Australia, they think of goofy animals and fun catchphrases and awesome things like that. But I have a story to tell you. A story of someone who had a PP&E degree and actually used it productively. A story of someone who pulled himself up by his bootstraps, overcame a family tragedy, and today would be recognized as a modern equivalent of one of the older titans of industry, equal to Rockefeller and Carnegie. And this man is Rupert Murdoch, all right, the owner of News Corporation. Beginning with just one newspaper, one small newspaper in a little town out in the outback, Murdoch acquired and started other publications before expanding News Corp into the UK, into the United States, into Asian markets, the Middle East, and all across the globe. Today, News Corp is a global force across the board in film and television, print, and even online. Consider what Murdoch has done. According to Business Week, his satellites deliver TV programs in 5 continents, all but dominating Britain, Italy, and wide swaths of Asia and the Middle East. He publishes 175 newspapers, all right, including the New York Post and the Times of London. In the US, he owns 20th Century Fox Studio, the Fox Network, and 35 TV stations that reach 40% of the country, including 19 regional sports channels. He's been listed 3 times in the Time 100. Forbes magazine has ranked him as the 13th most powerful person in the world. And Fortune magazine has ranked him as the 2nd most powerful businessman in the world, behind, ahead of people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Carlos Slim, and behind only Steve Jobs. His net worth is about $6.3 billion, and he's the 117th richest person in the world. But he didn't start out this way. See, Keith Rupert Murdoch was born in Melbourne, Australia, a modest city, on March 11th, 1931. The sun smiled on that very, very hot day. I actually looked it up to see what it was like. He was an only child growing up, and his father was in the newspaper business. He kind of, he was kind of a regional player, owned a number of different newspapers, and he went off to Oxford to study and get his PP&E degree. But shortly after he graduated, when he was only 22 years old, his father suddenly and unexpectedly died. So Murdoch came back, and he expected that there would actually be a substantial portion of family wealth to, for him to inherit. And it turned out that his father had run into a number of difficulties, and he only was left with this one little paper. But from that, from his business savvy and his ability to, become immersed in an industry of media and publishing, and become an expert in it, he was able to grow that paper, using his father, the skills his father had taught him, and turn his what used to be a little family business into a global media empire. Now, as far as his personal life goes, he's had a lot of women in his life, 3 sisters, 3 wives, and when he divorced his 2nd wife, he paid out a $1.2 billion divorce settlement. That's billion with a big. 4 daughters and 2 sons, and he treats his children very well. The older children, he has a few younger kids, but the older children all have equal voting rights and equal sharing in stock in News Corporation with him. And over the years, as he grew the company, he established himself as a dynamic business operator, starting in Australia and acquiring newspapers, acquiring magazines, radio stations, television stations, and then expanding often to the UK. He was involved in a 4-way business battle to take over the struggling Times, at which he eventually won out. And the Times is a very prestigious publication. The New York Times, the LA Times, the Times of India, a lot of Times newspapers all around the world, they get their name borrowed from the Times of London. Right? This paper's been around a long time, and it really showed him starting to make his mark in the business world. He eventually moved on to business in the United States. Right here in New York, he owns the Wall Street Journal, which is the best newspaper in the country. But he also owns the New York Post and New York Daily News, which I often frequently turn to when I want to know what's happening around New York City. He also owns the Fox Broadcasting Company, which includes the FX cable channel, obviously Fox News, the Fox Business Channel, 20th Century Fox Studios for all of you Star Wars fans out there, and all of the Fox companies there. And actually, the way he was able to do this was by acquiring American citizenship. Because there's this federal regulation that says that in order to own an American TV station, you have to be an American citizen. So Murdoch was like, all right, if that's what it takes to break into the market, sign me up for American citizenship. And he did, and he's been very, very successful there. Turning to his use of the internet and electronic communications, he owns a big part of DirecTV. He's acquired the MySpace social networking company, and Dow Jones and the business and the trading that they're involved with. Talking about some of the things that he does when he's not working on his corporate empire in politics. He's supported a lot of mostly conservative politicians, but he has had personal relationships with liberal ones as well. Everyone from Margaret Thatcher to Tony Blair to Hillary Clinton, Giuliani and Bloomberg, and George W. Bush. Now, he's had a number of close ties with the Bush administration. Fox News was the first outlet to declare a victory for Bush in the 2000 elections, and the guy counting the votes and the states for Fox News was actually a cousin of the Bush family. He also used his newspapers and magazines, including the Weekly Standard, which he recently sold off to promote his political views, such as getting involved in the war in Iraq. And he's been very key in shaping public opinion. Now, one interesting tidbit that I just learned recently is that he's even in talks to buy the Formula One racing organization, which basically is NASCAR for Europeans. So like their little diesel engines, they're like this wide. As far as his charitable work goes, he actually had a charitable auction a few years ago, and one of his biggest critics, Media Matters, won the charitable auction, and they actually got to sit down with him and have like a lunch, and they had some civil conversation, and their relations actually improved a little bit over this. He's been much more quiet with like what he does, so he doesn't throw these gigantic galas like Donald Trump does for charities. But he's been involved in donations more quietly. In terms of his personal faith, an interesting tidbit is that he owns HarperCollins Publishing, which owns Zondervan, which publishes the widely popular New International Version Bible. And although he grew up Jewish, he converted to Catholicism later in life. He describes himself now as a born-again practicing Christian, and more recently he's developed a pastoral relationship with Rick Warren of Saddleback Church. So, just wrapping up in conclusion, and he was even knighted by the Pope back about 10 years ago. So I don't know what the value is in that per se, but it's a cool title. You get to put it after your last name, maybe in your email signature. And in conclusion, I just wanted to read a quote about his business mentality, and that's really been key to driving his success. In motivating people, you've got to engage their minds and their hearts. I motivate people, I hope, by example, and perhaps by excitement, by having productive ideas to make others feel involved. You can't build a strong corporation with a lot of committees and a board that has to be consulted every turn. You have to make decisions on your own. I try to keep in touch with the details. I also look at the product daily. That doesn't mean you interfere, But it's important occasionally to show the ability to be involved. It shows you understand what's happening and that you connect with the people who work under you. And so because Rupert Murdoch has had this incredible success, bringing a small newspaper into a global media company, and he's actually been able to do very well with a PP&E degree, Rupert Murdoch is a person who has been inspirational to me. Thank you. Okay.